Welcome to the Impact Podcast powered by USA Benefits Group. I'm Sean Holm with Next Level, and I get the privilege of hosting these conversations, sitting down with the agents, managers, and agency owners inside USABG who are out there making an impact. Real stories, real tactics, and the lessons they learn so that you don't have to. Today, I'm sitting down with Taylor Walker, currently the #1 agent at USA Benefits Group, newly promoted regional manager, and he's doing all of it with a brand new baby at home. Taylor's been at this since 2017, and this episode, he breaks down exactly what's kept him on top, how he reaches out to people, how he talks to them, and how he conveys value on every call. But the part you don't want to miss is his lead strategy. Taylor has a very specific way of reaching out to leads, deciding which leads to chase, the ones most likely to convert, and it's something I haven't heard a lot of agents talk about before. Here's my conversation with Taylor Walker. Well, hey, I really appreciate you jumping on here. I know you're a busy guy. I've been seeing you crush it. Really excited to hear about kind of what you're doing. I want to hear about your success. I want to give people like insights into your business as much as you want to share. So thanks for jumping on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So maybe just a little bit about kind of your story. Like, how did you get into insurance? How'd you get hooked up with USA Benefits Group?
Yeah, my story, it's kind of funny how I started. My mom has been in the insurance world for 20 plus years. She was a really big Medicare writer for Humana. And I was fresh out of school. I wanted to do something sales related, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I did a little bit of real estate for a little bit, didn't work 6, 7 months. And so my mom was just, on my case every day. You need to get your insurance license. You need to get your license. So I finally did. Failed the test 3 times, and then ended up passing. And yeah, I started applying. It's funny. I was on Indeed, and I started just applying to different agencies, probably 4 or 5 of them. And 4 days goes by, 5 days goes by. I didn't hear anything. And so, in no random order, I just wrote down all the names of the agencies, and USABG was the first one I wrote down for whatever reason. And so I picked up the phone. I called them. I got hooked up to Doug Frankel's office. I spoke with his assistant. She transferred me to Doug. I was on the phone with Doug for a little over an hour, and
Wow.
I ended up signing up right then and there on the spot. So, and it turns out I didn't even like submit my resume when I applied, so that's why they didn't call me.
Okay.
But yeah, it all worked out. I talked to Doug, and yeah, and within a couple months, I ended up going down to his office in Dayton, Ohio, middle of open enrollment, like late November, and it was him in there. I was learning from him, listening to him close deals. Doug Moore was in there, and John Ruhlman were all in this office.
Mm,
So, you can imagine the level of training that I was able to receive as a brand new, fresh agent,
yeah.
just writing down page after page on my notebook, just going to town and learning from all them. So, yeah, that's my story, man. That's how I got started. And after I left that training, my business just took off. It was never the same. So, yeah, very fortunate.
What year was that when you were
It was
at
2017.
okay. Yeah, so it's been, 9 years or so. So
Yeah.
would you say that getting hooked up with those guys, actually showing up in person was just a huge, huge benefit,
Oh
huh?
yeah, yeah. I tell people like you can't put a price tag on that. I mean, on that level of training that I received. I mean, again, this was open enrollment, so they're closing business every single day. I mean, that cash register and the sales tracker is just cha-chinging like, every 20 minutes. And I'm going to Doug's office, and I'm going to, John, and listening to John close some deals. And so I'm getting little tidbits from each person, and then I'm kind of constructing that into my own pitch and perfecting, that pitch. Just practice, practice, practice. I mean, I was all in with this. I didn't have distractions. So that's another thing. When new agents come in, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. If you go all in with this, it will absolutely change your life.
Hmm.
100%.
Yeah. And I mean, 2017, that was in large part before telesales was a big thing, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. We weren't doing Zoom back then. It was like called GP5 or something. It was just a basic screen share. They couldn't even see me. All I was doing was just sharing my screen. So yeah, the a lot has changed since
Yeah.
then.
I think a lot of agents are pretty isolated now. A lot of them sit at a home office and they don't get out there. So would you say, what would you say those agents that have opportunity occasionally to go to an in-person event? I mean, what would you say to them?
Oh man, it's everything. Getting out to a training is everything. I tell all of my new agents that come in, I'm like, look, if you want to take your business to the next level, and you want a lot of my attention and my personal phone number, it's mandatory. You got to attend this training because it's going
Mhm.
to help you so much. Every single agent that has attended a training for me is consistently writing business week
Mm,
in and week out. So it
yeah.
speaks volumes about the in-person training. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got started in 2017, 2026 now. How has your career progressed? So for people who don't know much about you, I mean, are you the number one agent at USABG right now?
Currently, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which means, you write a good amount of business. I don't know if you want to get into numbers at all, but you also just got kind of a promotion, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been a hell of a journey for sure. So I was promoted to a region. My team is starting to really grow like crazy. I think we're already up 94% compared to last year.
Wow.
So it's been awesome. It's just such a blessing to be a part of USA Benefits Group. Couldn't
Yeah.
imagine doing anything else.
Awesome. So, okay, it's been 9 years. Has it been, do you feel like it's been a kind of a steady climb up, or have there been years? Like, tell me about the struggles. Like,
Yeah.
was there a time where you're like, this isn't going to work? What'd you do to persevere through that? And then I want to hear about the good stuff.
Yeah, in the beginning, I was young and dumb, and I was definitely all in. Don't get me wrong, but in the back of my mind, I thought I could like have all these revenue streams, right? I was looking at doing day trading and
Mm,
Amazon drop shipping and all these different distractions. And my first year, this is a true story. I did not even know what a deductible was my first year, and I made
mhm.
$79,000.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I always tell people if I can do it, anybody can. Um, After that, it really started to grow. I kind of eliminated those distractions. I was like, look, this is actually paying me money. My
Mhm.
friends aren't making nowhere near the amount of money I'm making, fresh out of school. Let me get rid of these distractions. Let me just focus on this, make the main thing. And yeah, my income has skyrocketed every single year. Jessica always says at least 20%. Mine has been like much, much higher every single
Yeah.
year. So it's like I said, it's definitely been a blessing.
So first year was the hardest, even though, I mean, most people would love, especially young people maybe coming out of school, to make 79,000 their first year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The insurance world is very lucrative. It really is. What we do is very lucrative. There's so many different streams of revenue, and I wasn't really focusing on that. I was trying to do all these other things, and if I focused on the insurance business, it will allow me eventually to have multiple streams in different ways,
Yeah.
right? And so I kind of learned that the hard way. I wish I would have just eliminated those in the beginning. I'd have a lot more money in my bank account.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, especially, I mean, I'm guilty of this too, but uh, now that we have ChatGPT and other AI at our fingertips, I think all of us get on there like, what if I started making money this way? What if I did this? And you get in
Yeah.
this constant loop, right? Where you're like trying to
Right.
think of new, and you're like, wait a second, I have this opportunity right here that if I just put more into this, it's going to pay off tremendously. But it's easy because there's never been a more accessible time for people to start a business online or to make money online. And so sometimes it can be this constant distraction, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. You just focus on the main thing, and that has produced a ton of money for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think anybody watching you and seeing your continued success year over year and how much, you just got, you're regional, you're building a team, but you're still a very high level producer, very, very high level producer. People watching this are going to want to know, how are you, what's the secret? How are you successful? You talked about perseverance, you talk about showing up, maybe mentorship, getting around the right people, but for you day to day, just practical stuff, getting focused. You said, I'm not getting distracted. I just focus on doing the right things. What does that look like for you? What's the keys behind your success?
It's persistency and consistency. In this business, you got to have both of those. If you don't, you're not going to make it. If you continue to put the work in and you're consistent week in and week out, then you're gonna do very, very well. Making the calls, scheduling the appointments, running the appointments, doing everything that you got to do, to grow your business. I have different set days where I do different things. Monday and
Mm,
Tuesday. I'm actually going back from the previous week and I'm just rescheduling people that didn't show up or, hey, my dog got ran over or whatever. And I'm trying to get them on the calendar for the current week. Running those appointments. Then we get to Thursday, Friday, I'm scheduling for the next week. So I'm always, I've always got stuff on the calendar. You never want to go into a Monday where you have zero appointments.
mm,
That
yeah,
can be stressful and
yeah,
scary because then you got to work like hell to get a ton of appointments. So again, it's just consistency and persistency, doing it over and over and over and over. Yeah, you will see a lot of success and your bank account will grow tremendously.
yeah. So what does like a Tuesday look like for you?
Tuesday, I'm still scheduling appointments. Running appointments. Tuesday is probably my busiest day. You would think it would be Monday, but I like to schedule appointments on Tuesday instead of Monday because
Mm,
Monday you have what do you have prior? You have the weekend, right? You have all that time where people forget. So I like to schedule a lot of them on Tuesday rather than Monday. Okay,
mm,
definitely not Monday morning. No one's showing up to a Monday morning meeting. Okay,
mm,
so I always like to load up Tuesday. If I do Mondays, it'll be like late, late afternoon, evening time, but mainly just hammer Tuesday. And then Tuesday, I just try to hammer out Wednesday and Thursday. I'm scheduled. Same thing.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So maybe a little more in depth, like you start at a certain time every day, do you end at a certain time?
Yeah.
Is that day broken up? Like, are you just calling all day? Like, how does and maybe part of that question is like, what does your prospecting look? How are you reaching out to people? Are you texting them? Are you calling them? Are you
Mhm.
emailing? What does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah, so I like to start around 9:30. The majority of my leads and where I get a lot of my stuff from is Central Time. So, it's a different time zone. So I typically start 9:30. I get on the phones right away, start making the calls, reaching out, scheduling everything. I do it all myself. I don't have a scheduler or, appointment setter or anything. I feel like if they hear me, my voice from the beginning, the initial call to the actual appointment, it helps close the deal, in my personal opinion,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more. So yeah, I kind of hammer it out from 9:30 till lunchtime. I'll take a probably 2 hour break. I'll eat, go to the gym, come back, and then run those afternoon appointments. And in between appointments, I'll still be trying to call people, schedule ones that didn't show up. I have everything color coordinated on a Google Calendar. So
Mm,
every time I make a sale, it's green, right? If they no show, it's orange. So I have different colors for different things. If we ran the appointment and we got to follow up, it's like a blue or something like that. So I'll go back and just attack all the oranges for like a month and just
mm,
pester them, hammer them out, get them on the calendar again for the next week, and just keep doing that over and over and over. People's situations change all the time.
yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why they don't show up. They don't want to deal with it. It's a pain. They don't want to take the time. They're happy with their insurance, but then 3 months later, guess what? They get a rate increase. Now they hate their
Mm,
insurance.
yeah.
And so now they're ready to talk to you. So
They get a
everyone's
big bill.
situations
Yeah.
change. Yeah, of course, get a big bill. They realize the coverage isn't what they thought it was. So yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
So am I right? So it sounds like you're looking at your calendar and you're color coding things on your calendar, you said, right? And then as you're going back and say, I'm gonna work my old leads, you're using your calendar to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the calendar is like everything. So
So
that's
that's
that's where I
interesting.
use. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting because and maybe you do this too, but you may get leads that you never booked. But if you're focused on the people that were on your calendar, those are probably people a little further along in
right.
their interest level, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Mhm.
So
There was a level of motivation there to want to book onto my calendar. So there's something there. I've just got to figure it out.
I see. So that's probably a really good tip for people is a lot of people might be trying to call that lead that's never going to answer and they've called 50 times, they're never going to answer. You're calling the guy that you talked to maybe 2 months ago or has scheduled an appointment 2 months ago. And you think that's going to be a little bit warmer, a little more likely to you'll be a little more likely to connect with them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And then
Mhm.
what about those leads that never book? You have like a day or a time that you dial those as well?
Yeah, I usually hammer them out for at least 2 months, couple months before I kind of give up on them. And I've got 7 different phone numbers.
Okay.
So a lot of times it's very rare that a lead doesn't answer at some point.
Mm.
Especially border states. I'll call from the border state phone number, and I get a lot of people that answer that. Tennessee, Virginia have both phone numbers there. North Carolina. So yeah, I got a lot of numbers. That helps tremendously. Whenever I'm reaching out to different leads, and it's kind of like you're tricking them. So
Yeah.
they see the
Yeah.
same phone number for like a week, and then you call from a different number. And then they answer. So
Yeah. I mean, in the CRM, you can get multiple phone numbers and call from them, but I think are you using a different kind of app? What app? How are you
yeah,
getting those
so I
numbers?
use it's called phone.com app on the phone, so I have several phone numbers I can call, text right through there, and then they can, obviously text me on it as well. I know TMS they give us 10 free phone numbers as well. And then of course, with you guys, we have a phone number there connected
Hmm.
to. So yeah, a lot of options.
Okay. So a couple big takeaways there. You're looking at your whole schedule, all of your different, maybe last few months, your color coding appointments. You're calling those people that were on the calendar and following up, and then you're the ones you can't get a hold of. You're just trying from different phone numbers, and you're actually looking at where they're at, and you're picking a phone number that's close to them, or and then
Yeah,
trying maybe other
absolutely.
numbers.
Yeah, 100%. I'll initially start with obviously their local area, right? Arkansas, I'll start with their Arkansas phone number. And then a week later, I'll do Oklahoma because it's relatively
Mm,
close. So I'll do an Oklahoma phone number, call them from that. And that works out really, really well. So
yeah.
they
So
usually
how?
answer from one of those.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. How are you tracking? Okay, I tried from the Arkansas number. Now I'm trying to where are you keeping those notes?
So I'm very old school. I keep everything in a notebook,
Okay,
just
yeah.
pen and paper, just notebook. I go through it and I'll kind of bookmark a certain page and I'll just work on like 7 pages back and I'll work from 7 pages back all the way up to the current page where I'm at today. And so I'm up to date and I'm not losing people. They're not, falling through the cracks.
Hmm.
But yeah, everybody makes fun of me because I just do pen and paper. But yeah, I'm old
Yeah.
school.
I mean, I mean, you can't argue if it works, it works, There's top producing agents. You're a good example of one that maybe has you're not shy of technology or using different software and things, but you got to do whatever is going to help you stay most consistent and organized. So,
Absolutely. Yep.
um, So as far as like your prospecting, so you're calling from different phone numbers. Do you try to call the leads as soon as they come in, or are you kind of like, oh, I just kind of take my appointments and then I do follow-ups with the people that aren't booking, or how do you work that?
Yeah, it's kind of both. It just depends on my schedule, how many appointments I have for the day. If I have time in between, then I'll call them right away. If not, if I'm slammed, then they'll just come in at the end of the day, like around 6:15, and then I'll call them then, or I'll call them the next morning. If I can't get to them. So it just kind of depends on my schedule for the day.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And as far as where you're sourcing new business from, like where are your leads coming from? I mean, I know
Yeah.
you're on our program, but I'm assuming you have other things too. So, where are you getting most of your
Yes.
sales from?
So I will say this week I've done 4 deals. All of them have been from you guys. So yeah,
Awesome.
it's been pretty good. But I do TMS. I've done TMS since 2017.
Mm,
So that has been the only lead source that I've done. I did BNI for a year. Didn't get a whole lot out of it. So literally TMS, A leads, B leads is all I've done since 2017 until you guys came on the scene. And then I started adding you guys, and yeah, my sales went way up. So yeah,
love it.
I use both of those, and they work out really, really well for me.
Cool. What would you say to those who are, looking to bring on a lead source? I mean, would you recommend, kind of doing your approach, diversifying, maybe trying a couple different things?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Obviously, I didn't, right? I just did one lead source for almost a decade. But I would definitely recommend it. Just try different, vendors. We have a ton of them in the back office. So just see, what works and what doesn't work, what you like, what you don't like. And if your budget is, if you can afford it, then definitely multiple.
Hmm.
The more money you spend, the more money you're going to make. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard one, right? So you put budget behind it, and it's a hard one for a lot of agents, I should say, as they get scared, right, to spend money on leads. What would you say to those agents?
Yeah, I was the same way. Like I remember back in the day, I was spending like $400, you know, every 2 weeks, and I
Mhm.
hated doing it. I hated seeing the money leave. Right? I didn't understand the concept. And again, I wish I would have understood how that works because my mindset back then was just like, I want money coming in, I don't want it going out. And so the more money that I started to spend, I started closing more business, I started making more money, and then the light bulb went off. Hey, why don't I just start throwing, a couple thousand a month here at this thing and see how far we can take it. And that's what I started doing. And, I started getting up to 2,500, 3 grand. Now I'm probably spending, I'd say 4 to 4,600 range per month.
Mhm.
I know that number is probably scary to a lot of new agents, but the return is just through the roof on it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Once you start building momentum and you're consistent and you've been doing it long enough to where the emotional roller coaster starts to, instead of doing this, it just kind of does a little bit of this.
yep,
Um, it becomes easier to do that. But I mean, you're selling primarily private health insurance, right?
yep, absolutely.
Yeah. But if you go to a life insurance, there's a lot of people in life insurance that are spending like 8 grand a month on leads. And
Oh
so when I
yeah,
see these health insurance agents come on, they're like, I don't want to spend more than a couple grand. I'm like, I was talking about if you had a magic pipe in your office, and I always laugh when I say magic pipe, it's not like that kind of magic pipe. But if you had a magic pipe in your office where you put $1 in one side, and on the other side, like $3 or $4 or $5 came out, you'd be like getting all the money you can and putting that into it. But agents
absolutely.
get so scared to put that dollar in.
Yep.
Even agents that are consistently selling get scared to put that money in, and sometimes, and I get it, but this is a business where you don't have a storefront where people are coming in. Even storefront businesses have to advertise, but no one is coming to you. No one is coming to you unless you find a way to generate leads. Now, some people do referrals and other sources, so consistent social media, but 99% of agents, especially getting started, are like, I have to get traffic coming to me, and so I have to put money into it. But it can be scary, It
Yeah,
can be scary.
absolutely. I see it all the time. Yeah.
Mhm.
I always say in the beginning, like a good number is probably $1,500 a month, 1,500 to 2 grand. That can kind of jumpstart you, get you a little bit of a pipeline going.
Hmm.
And as you make more sales, you can scale up. When I started, I was just buying B leads. I didn't have a whole lot of money to work with. So I was hammering those things out. I mean, 6, 7 hours a day just on the phone, just hammering it out. And every time I would make a sale and commission would hit my account, I would take half of it and I would use half of it to buy A leads. And then I
Mm.
got to a point I was never buying B leads. I was just buying A leads. That gave me way more time. I was way more efficient. I was making way more money because those leads were a lot fresher. They were higher quality leads. I wasn't just cold calling all day long. So that's what I did to scale up and ramp it up to
Yeah.
get me to the next level.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, as we come to a little bit of a conclusion here, we've talked about kind of your lead sources, your technology, how you're calling them, how you're stay organized, your process, your consistency. But at the end of the day, like you have to get on the phone and you actually have to be able to sell, right? Like you got to be able to have those conversations and help people help themselves by getting good coverage in place. So what do you think you're doing well that's enabling you to sell at such a high level once you get on the phone?
Yeah, once I get on the phone, I mean, at this point, it's second nature. I've been doing this for so long. Um, there's certain areas that I really like to kind of go after on their plan. I really like to expose, what they have. Hey, if such and such happens, this is what your bill's going to be looking like. Let me show you where it's half of that with my plan, right? Or it's completely zero, over here with this plan. So I kind of just give them real world examples, like
Mm,
really scary, like a heart attack or a stroke or something. What does that look like on paper? And then we kind of go down from there, like, getting your doctors and getting all that lined up, medications, prescriptions, and then, close it. I mean, the biggest thing is just showing them value. In the
mm,
beginning, I was so focused on price. I was just, hey, if I offer this guy a plan that's $200 more than what he's paying now, there's no way in hell he's going to buy my plan. Right. And so I
mm,
was so focused on that. And so I was just focused on coming in lower than what they
mm,
had. And then I met John Ruhlman, and he showed me a whole different path that
mm.
was 90% of my sales now are more than what they're paying, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
showing them how much more coverage you're getting, how much more value they're able to actually receive, and people will buy that all day long. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was my biggest hang up in the beginning was price for sure.
Yeah, that's such a good insight. I think so many people they think it's all about price and they think, oh, to be fair, when you're talking to people and you say, I'm just looking to save money, I'm just like, of course. But if you
Mhm.
like use another example in a sales world, like someone comes pulling in this 1990 pulling into a car dealership in a 1990 Ford Focus, rust and all this stuff on it. The salesperson's not going to be like, how can we get you a cheaper car, And they're going to come in and be like, yeah, I don't have a whole lot of money and everything, but 100% of the time they're going to be paying a lot more money for the next new model, for the next
Right.
best thing. So, but they're going to always
Absolutely.
be price sensitive. They're not be like, I got a lot of money, it can cost whatever. They're always going to come in there like, I got to stay within budget. I got to, but it's like
Yeah.
if you were a car salesman and they came up and you're like, oh, okay, well, oh, your car's paid off. I don't know. How can we get you closest to the $0 a month car?
Yeah.
It's just never going to happen.
Right. Right. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another, I think, a really key insight is people kind of come in so price sensitive. It's not about price, it's about value, right? And so it sounds like you're communicating the value well, and you're showing the gaps in their current coverage. So you're not just like, this is going to save you a bunch of money. Do you want to do it? You're like, let me actually show you some of the big stuff that people worry about, why they have insurance to begin with, and how practically like this is going to pay out versus this is going to pay out.
Yeah, I notice a lot of clients like they're so hung up on a doctor office bill, and I'm like, look, $100, who cares?
Mhm.
We're buying health insurance for the big stuff, the $10,000 claims and higher. That's why we're
Mhm.
buying health insurance. When you have a ER or a crazy hospital visit, who cares about $100, doctor bill? So when you can be real with them and kind of go over that with them, they're like, oh yeah, you're right, you're 100% right. And so you kind of just change their way of thinking when it comes to health insurance because they're focused on what they're doing the most. They're seeing a doctor, right? They're not
Mhm.
having a heart attack once a year. Okay, so
Right.
if you say, hey, we need to prepare for the what if scenario, heaven forbid, that's what we need to prepare for. And so you're just kind of changing their whole thought process with things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good stuff. So what's the rest of this year look like for you, or maybe over the next year? What are you building towards? What kind of goals do you have?
Yeah, so excited for open enrollment for sure. I think it's really gonna be a really, really big one. I know we say that every year, but now that
Well, it
we
was, right, last year. I mean,
it was
everybody
a
did
big
really.
one. It was, yeah, but I think it's going to be even bigger thanks to you guys coming on board with us. So yeah, really excited for that. The team, my agents are doing really, really well, and it's only going to increase as the year progresses. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'd like to get to like I think I'm number two region, so I'd like to finish for the year number two region. That'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're building your team, right? You're actively recruiting now?
Yep,
You have.
actively recruiting. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have a
Awesome.
recruiter, so I tried in the beginning. I tried to do both. It's impossible. So if you're thinking about that, it's you can't get it done. You got to have a recruiter that's going to help you.
Mm,
You need to focus on selling, keeping your production up. I was trying to juggle both, and it was impossible. It really was. There's just not enough time in the day to do both. So
yeah.
if you're thinking about jumping on the recruiting train, do yourself a favor, set aside, some money, a budget for a recruiter, because it's gonna help you so much. It's gonna give you a lot more freed up time.
Mm, yeah. That's good. That's good. Well, thanks so much for, a lot of value here. So thanks for your time and jumping on. And you have a new baby too, isn't that right?
Yeah, we had a baby 2 months ago. So yeah,
Yeah.
she's growing like a weed, keeping us up. But now we love it. It's awesome. We're very
Yeah.
blessed.
Yeah. Well, congrats, man. Congrats on your success and the recent promotion. So best wishes over the next year. I'm excited for everybody for open enrollment too. But appreciate you jumping on again today.
Thanks so much, Sean. Take care.
All right, you too. See ya.
Bye.